got some tweets from some Juventini that were getting ready for this podcast. Joe Cappuccino, what were your biggest takeaways from the match? Did this derby versus Torino provide enough of a test for Juve? My biggest takeaway from the match is that I think we are finding the rhythm as far as the personnel goes. I think, it's funny because we talked about Sarri all along, and he needs to be able to rotate players. He can't just play one lineup all the time. But I think it's his saving grace right now, and I think he needs to stick to the lineup that's working in order to get that fluidity in the ball. That's my biggest takeaway is I think Sarri's figuring it out personnel-wise, and we're getting into a groove. And I think he just needs to keep it going, keep doing things the same. Did this derby provide enough of a test for Juve? I don't think so. I don't think it was really a test for Juve. I think, again, I'm not shy about saying how poor I think Torino is, and I think we saw it in the space they were allowing us around that 55th to 60th minute. But yeah, those are my thoughts. What about you, Luis? What was your biggest takeaway from the match, and did this provide enough of a test for Juve?
It was definitely not enough of a test. I mean, the squad we went up against is just not at the standard that we hold ourselves to. So it's hard to say that, we can't say, oh, we're the greatest team because we beat Torino. We're supposed to beat Torino. But I do agree with the personnel being – he's starting to figure that out. I do think that there's still more that needs to be done. I think that Pjanic needs to be not as much of a focus anymore, especially because he's not going to be here next year. I think that putting Bentancur in that spot and maybe bringing in Ramsey or something like that would be good. I know that Ramsey is not fully fit at this point, but that needs to happen. We need to look at it this way because, Pjanic is not the future of our club anymore. Unfortunately, I like the guy, but it's just, we need to move on from that.
Yeah.
I think that they're really starting to – I think they're moving the ball a little bit faster, a little bit crisper. I do want them to move a little bit more vertically and just really hit back quickly. I think that if you look at Napoli from a couple years ago, they looked a lot better than we do now with Sarri's system. So definitely need a little bit more of that, but we're moving in the right direction. I mean, I think the last couple of games, we didn't feel like we were struggling in the game and that we may lose it. We thought that, eventually we would get the win. We're creating enough chances, and we need to see more of that, and we need to see that against some better competition. I do think, Sarri's trying to work in subs now and things like that. I mean, Matuidi was awful, in my opinion, when he came in. So really kind of figuring out how to continue that as you're making subs. I know that Costa seamlessly moves in and he gives you a lot more than Bernardeschi does, but really just kind of figuring out how, with different lineups you can get that going. And I know that Sarri doesn't like doing that, and that's probably why they have a hard time kind of having that continuity as the subs happen. But really just need to, see that improvement keep going, and we'll see a little bit better testing against Milan, granted without some of our best players, but I think that, we're moving in the right direction, and that's a positive thing to see.
Absolutely. Brings us to the next question. Luis DeVito writing in, have Juve finally figured it out? Is the race for the Scudetto done? I think they have finally figured it out. I think they're starting to kind of see what they need to do. I think it's more Sarri figuring out who he needs to use, how he needs to use them more than anything. But I think also a look in the mirror, a good long look in the mirror after that Coppa Italia final loss to Napoli, and maybe the danger of going trophyless and, essentially getting their shit together. I think it all plays in, but have they figured it out? It looks like it so far, but we still have some tests. Is the Scudetto race done? It's closer, but I don't think it's quite done yet. We still have a couple really good tests. I think Milan being in this dogfight, we'll preview it later, but even that, but we still have to play Atalanta and Lazio. There's still 24 points up for grabs. We got a 7-point lead. It's not done. It's closer. That's how I'll leave it. But what about you? Is the race for the Scudetto done, Luis?
So if I was a betting man, I'd put all my money that we're going to get the Scudetto again this year. But it's not mathematically done. So we have to play and treat every game as if it's our last, and really make sure we get maximum points out of it. Have we figured it out? I would say no. I think that again, we're improving and we're getting better. But if we take this same team and the same performance that we saw against Torino into a Barcelona or a Real Madrid or something like that, I don't know if we necessarily win that game. And our goals are not just a Scudetto. It's more than that. And we have to play like it. We have to continue to improve as if our goals are bigger than that. So no, we haven't figured it out. Yes, we're doing a lot better than we were before. But if we continue this improvement, if all our guys really start to mesh and get used to this formation and the different roster decisions that Sarri's making, then yeah, so we'll be there before the end of the year. That's my hope. But it does take time. So I do think that it's going to look a lot better once we have a little bit more time in the system.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it will. But again, the signs are there. I mean, Iskander writes in, is our midfield settled down? I think, again, just what we're speaking to, right? That continuity. Sarri figuring out who he needs to play, how he needs to play him. Matuidi being the closer makes sense. Costa being the super sub makes sense. Higuain coming in to give rest makes sense. It's all making sense. We need to keep up with it. Lalo writes in, what do you think has changed between Ronaldo and Dybala? They seem to click, but what I see personally is the team stopped looking for Ronaldo at all costs. Ronaldo himself seems to defer to Dybala. He is even looking for Dybala more, even free kicks. He isn't hogging them. So he just wants us to talk on the relationship between Ronaldo and Dybala and what seemed to click. I think personally, it's the fact that Dybala is extremely driven this season, I think, after what happened in the offseason. The other thing is I never for 1 second believed they couldn't play together. But I think the issue before was Dybala being out on the right, now being more centrally, being able to be closer to Ronaldo during play and whatnot. It makes sense. Dybala needs to be in that area. He needs to be up top centrally just to create link up, whether it's as a second striker or in this kind of false nine role or whatnot. It just makes sense to have his technical gifts there and not out wide. He's great at doing that too. Even when he drops down, like he links us up great. He could still spray that ball around, switch field incredibly. But I think to get the absolute best out of Dybala, and we've all said it for so long, he needs to be close to goal. And I think that's the biggest change is he's closer to goal. Ronaldo can play off of them. Bernardeschi, for God's sakes, can play off of them. Like, it just makes sense to have Dybala there. That's the biggest change I see. They've always had a great relationship personally. You could tell since day one, like Dybala, spoke to him and whatnot, and what a great teammate Ronaldo is and whatnot. But I think now it's just the fact they're closer together and Dybala's closer to goal. What do you think?
I think they've always gotten along. I think the question mentioned, that they're not going to Ronaldo as much. I mean, they're kind of switching it up a little bit more, giving Dybala more of the ball. But really, in order for Ronaldo to be the guy that we know he is and a great player, we do need Dybala to be performing at a high level. It creates more space for him and things like that. And the fact that Dybala has been scoring for all these games in a row really kind of opens up space for him, and that's what's really creating it. I mean, they have to shine individually, and it makes them better collectively. That's really what we're seeing now. Do I think that he's going to be sharing the free kicks that often? I don't really, not moving forward, especially after that goal. But they do have a respect for each other. You can tell that, and a little bit more familiarity and just kind of getting used to playing with each other. It can only be good. I know it seems like a theme for me. I think that they just more time under the system, more time playing together always makes them better, and you'll see some good things out of both of them.
Yeah. Last one from Carlos Medina. What do you think of CR7's reaction after getting advice from Sarri during the match? Do they have a good relationship? I mean, to
I
be
saw that.
honest, we could speculate this, but I think honestly, again, I've spoken to it a lot recently, but I think Bonucci, Chiellini, and Buffon having that discussion really rallied the troops and extended the arm for Sarri. I don't think it's necessarily out of respect for Sarri or whatnot, but more respect for the players themselves and as a club, as Juve. And Ronaldo was a part of that discussion. But when he kind of looks like that, it's tough to say. It easily gives off the feeling, and I know it's easy to speculate and look into it, that it's like, oh, he's rolling his eyes, he's sarcastic, whatnot. But honestly, I saw a player that was doing that for loads of the match, sulking and pouting and being pissy. I saw that the entire match. So when I saw it with the reaction to Sarri, I didn't really think anything of it because I was just like, oh, Ronaldo's in a pissy mood today. That's honestly all I thought. Did you think anything more of it, Luis? Or
I don't. I mean, I saw that, and I can see how somebody watching, from home may think, "Oh, he's not showing him respect," things like that. But what you have to remember is that Cristiano Ronaldo is one of the best soccer players to ever play the game, right? And he's super competitive. I mean, he's just, this is life or death for him. I mean, he's as serious about winning as anybody you've ever seen, and that's why you see these kinds of reactions out of him. I mean, he really wants to score every time he hits the ball. You could play and have a 16-0 match, and if you didn't make the pass just right to him at the end of the game, he would lose it. And that's who he is. And I don't think that it's necessarily something to be negative about him. Like nothing to say something bad about him. It's just that's what makes him the player that he is. And if he's not, if he doesn't care, that's when you should be concerned, because the guy is. He works so hard in his body, like in recovery, all that, just so that he could be the best. And, if he gets frustrated, I mean, he was no different at Madrid. I mean, you would think that he hated a lot of his teammates back then, but really it's that he just wants to win. He wants to get the right ball. He wants to, be in the right situations. And that's it. So I didn't take it for it to be much, just because that's who he is as a person. I mean, he's so competitive that he's going to get mad.
yeah,
For whatever it may be. I don't know what Sarri said. I mean,
I didn't think
anything back to him. So
I didn't think much of it. But to speculate on their relationship, I do think that there's tension there. I mean, from the Coppa Italia, from earlier on the season, was subbing him off a couple times. I just think, and just Sarri in general with man management. I mean, it's never been something he's been credited for, known for. It's always kind of been the opposite, really, with a lot of incidents and stuff that have happened. But this particular instance, I didn't look too much into it.